There's so many people that goes ahead and begins a soundproofing project, and in the end they've spent way too much money and the results were quite negligible. And really every time that I would begin a soundproofing project, I would have to ask myself these questions. I have to do these things before beginning the project, and these are the things that you should do as well before you begin any soundproofing project. And even if your wall is not open, even if you don't have any drywall, you can still soundproof your room. If your wall looks just like this, you can still effectively soundproof the wall. And if you have a wall with a door, which most people have a wall with a door, then it can be a little bit more challenging, but it's still very doable to effectively soundproof this wall. But before you even begin, you have to know what type of noise you're trying to soundproof for. Is it an airborne or a structural noise? Is it a noise that it's just something you hear? Or is it also a noise that it's something that you can feel, something with some vibrational, with some bass? Or is it a type of noise that you're emitting? And not only that, you'll need to also think about sound deadening material and not only soundproofing material, because the differences in the type of noise that you will be soundproofing for will require different types of material. That is where you have to go first thing. You have to know what type of noise. The second important thing that you need to do before beginning your soundproofing project is how much do you have to seal? What I'm meaning is cracks, gaps, anywhere on that wall that you're trying to soundproof. How many cracks and gaps are there? And how are you going to actually seal them? Because a lot of noise will be coming through those gaps. It could be a wall that you have absolutely nothing on the wall. Let's say a party wall where it's a shared wall, you don't have any doors or windows on that wall. You might think there's no cracks on that wall, it's a full wall, there is no doors, but there are cracks. The electrical outlets and the light switches, those are cracks. You open the electrical outlet and what do you see? A hole in the wall, a hole in the drywall. And most of the time between rooms, there is no insulation, it's an open cavity. So if it is an open cavity and on the other side of the wall in the other room, there is also an electrical outlet backing the one in your room, well, now you have two holes in the wall and just a little plastic plate covering it with holes in that plate. What's going to happen? Noise is going to freely go through from room to room. And how would you know? Because a lot of people are just telling you to add an extra layer of drywall, but they're forgetting to mention that electrical outlet. Now, don't get me wrong, adding an extra layer of drywall will effectively stop a lot of noise from coming through. However, that electrical outlet is still letting in an awful lot of noise that you could have sealed up by using something called an acoustical caulking. Now, an acoustical caulking is something that stays rubbery over time. It doesn't crack. You can also buy something cheaper, just any type of silicone caulking. It's a fraction of the price. It works sort of the same way, and that's the whole point, that it doesn't crack. It doesn't create gaps in the future, because as the houses shifts, as everything moves, things will start to crack. An acoustic sealant, it will not. It will stay rubbery for the lifetime of where you install it. Now, first things first, turn off your breaker and open the faceplate and look at where the electrical box is. There's usually a very small gap between the box and the drywall. You want to seal that up. Now, on top of that, another thing that you can add in behind the faceplate is a rubber backing. Like you see on your screen, it fits right behind. You add the faceplate back onto the wall and it will block a little bit of noise coming through. Now, what you should do is do the same thing on the other room, the other side of the wall. Seal that electrical outlet as well. Start there and then see if that actually drowned out enough noise that is enough for you that you can just stop there, because all those cracks and gaps, noise will be coming through those, and you have to make sure that the majority of the noise is not coming through those cracks. But if they are, you can seal them and hopefully save yourself a lot of money and headache. If you have one of these, a door, That makes it a little bit harder to soundproof because you can add another layer of drywall onto the wall and you might not have solved any of your problems because most of the noise is going to come through this hole in the wall. So now this is daylight and you can still see the light around the door shining. I have this light turned off and as you can see, look at all that light gap. So if the gaps and cracks on your wall is coming from this door, then first thing that you have to do is seal that before even bothering with the wall. So again, where is the noise coming from? The cracks around this door. And this is quite an easy fix. All you should do is add a door sweep onto the bottom of the door to seal that gap. Now, you have to remember there might be some air handling issues if you do that. So the door sweep that I recommend is a U-shaped door sweep that you can just slide in and slide back out. So if you're just using the room and you're the one making the noise, or you just want to soundproof the door for a few hours a day if you're recording a podcast or whatever the reason is, when you're not using it, you can just slide the door sweep right back off. Next thing that you want to do, you want to fix this light bleed that comes from this door jamb. All you need to do is grab your acoustical sealant and seal around. One thing, however, it takes about 48 hours for the acoustical sealant to completely dry and settle. So don't do this next part until a couple of days later, which is fix this wobble using a weather strip. You can just buy a small thin weather strip that is the width of this door jamb and you just add it all around. And then when you close the door, you'll have a greater seal and you should not see any more light, and hopefully those cracks are now sealed and that could be the answer that you were looking for. You might not need any more soundproofing after that. But if you want more ways on how to effectively soundproof this door, I'll have links in the description below of all of those videos, and also I'll have links of the products I talk about in this video. Now, if your soundproofing project doesn't involve the wall or a door, but it involves a ceiling, the first thing that you should ask yourself, again, what type of noise is it? Is it footstep noise, which would be structural noise, or is it airborne noise, which is just people talking and it's just driving you crazy? If it's just people talking, then great. That is the best and easiest way to soundproof your ceiling. You add another layer of drywall, or you can add something called mass-loaded vinyl in between the two layers of drywall. Mass-loaded vinyl, it comes in a roll, it's rubbery, it's very dense and heavy, and it works pretty well at blocking noise and also absorbing noise. So you can add that in between the two layers of drywall, and then your airborne noise should be good. But don't forget to seal the electrical light boxes where the light switches are on your ceiling to make sure that the noise doesn't bleed through from the room upstairs. But if you are soundproofing for footstep noise, that is structural noise and you'll have to do something a little bit different. Unfortunately, you'll need to remove the drywall from your ceiling for the most effective way to soundproof it. You'll need to decouple the ceiling from the studs by using something called a resilient channel. Now what this does, it essentially separates the ceiling from the studs. So when somebody's footsteps is banging upstairs, the vibrational noise isn't hitting your ceiling where you can't hear it as much or at all. That is the whole point of decoupling a ceiling from the studs, is to stop that structural noise. So that is the most important thing you need to ask yourself if you soundproof the ceiling, is what type of noise is it? Because if it is footstep noise, then if you just add drywall, you will still hear that footstep noise quite well and you'll be quite disappointed with the results. So basically that's what you have to ask yourself before you start your soundproofing project. Where is the noise coming from? What type of noise is it? And then what type of material should I buy? Because as I said, all soundproofing problems doesn't require the same type of material. And if you just stick a bunch of drywall and you just hope for the best, you might be disappointed with your project. If you are looking to soundproof the wall and you want a lot more details, but you still want to keep it on a budget, the video right there will show you how to do it on or hopefully under budget. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, assuming that you subscribed.